Hello, welcome back to the woods. Now, as everybody knows, there's certain things you need to be a good bushcrafter. Number one, well, you need a Scandi grind knife, and I've got one or two of those. You also need a pair of file raven trousers. Well, I did have a pair. I bought a long time ago, back in the mid 1980s. I think they cost me 20 quid out of a bargain box. So I looked round this week to see how much a pair of file raven trousers cost nowadays. I think they're currently going for about £180 for a pair of trousers. I think for now I'll just stick with my old pair of surplus BDU things. They're cheap, they work. And the last thing is a hand forged Swedish axe. And I've got one of those too. I bought it probably about 20 years ago now. And it's a Gransfors small forest axe. And a great bit of kit. And I'm very, very pleased with it. I think back then it cost me 45 to 50 pounds. I think that's all it was. As I say, it was back around 2000, just after 2000. And yeah, the prices of things do go up. But I had a look this week, and now to buy the same axe, you're looking, well, you can add 100 quid to that, which is a lot of money. Even their smaller axes. I was looking at their small, their wildlife hatchet and their hand hatchet, and they're looking at over £130, which is a lot of money. But they are very, very good bits of kit. And there are a whole host of other Swedish axe manufacturers out there who've clicked onto the same thing. We've got Holtzbrook, we've got Wetterlings, and they all do these beautiful hand forged axes, but you do pay a premium for them. So what if, well, you are on a bit of a budget and you can't afford one of those top of the line, super duper wonderful, all singing, all dancing Swedish axes? Now, for those of you who watch the channel regularly, you'll know a few videos back I did the review of the Beavercraft BSH3 bushcraft knife, which, if you're in the market for a general purpose outdoor knife, is a very, very good deal. For what they charge, you get an awful lot for your money. So if you haven't seen that video, go and check it out. Now, the folks at Beavercraft obviously have seen the video, because they sent me an email to say, great video, thank you ever so much, etc. But they'd also read the comments, because they also said one of your viewers had asked about the axe and if anybody knew about our axe that we make. So they said, if we send you one, would you do a review of it? So yeah, what's to lose? Let's have a look at it, see if it's as good as their other products, and let's get it out there so that you guys can have a look at it too. And this is it. This is the AX1 or AX1 crafting axe from Beavercraft over in Ukraine. And what struck me straight away was, well, the size. It's an ideal size for just popping in a day sack. One of the reasons I don't tend to use my small forest axe anymore is it's quite big. I know it's a compact axe, but usually it has to go on the outside of your pack, which I don't particularly like doing. This, on the other hand, is nice and compact, and it will fit inside your pack. So the axe comes with, well, obviously a hand forged head. It also comes with an axe mask, and it also comes with a little axe loop, which you can see there, so you can hang it off your belt if you want to, which I suppose if you're out in the woods and you're moving around from base camp prepping stuff, rather than lay it on the ground, if you've got an axe loop you can just drop it into. Yeah, makes sense. So you get the axe mask, you get the loop in with the price. What you also are getting is this hand forged head, and you're also getting an ash handle, not a hickory handle, but I think ash and hickory are very, very similar. So all in all, so far looking pretty good. So that's your hand forged head. The whole thing weighs in just over 600 grams, as well as your hand forged head, which if you look at the profile, the cheeks on it, etc., and the way the bevel is set up, it's set up for crafting. It is a crafting axe. It's got an ash handle, which is shorter than the handle on the wildlife hatchet, but it's longer than the handle on the hand axe. I think it's a pretty good compromise. Personally, I think I'd probably go for a slightly longer one. It's got a good wooden wedge in there, and then that is further backed up by a nice brass pin going into there as well. So all in all, it looks pretty well put together. So the cutting edge on it is just short of 3 inches long. The actual head width is about 5 inches, just over, I think, a fraction over. And as I said, it comes in at about £1. So it's a good versatile weight for a small hatchet. I looked at some of the other reviews online, and what they all said was that when they got it, it had a mirror polished razor sharp edge. I didn't find that. I found it was reasonable. It had quite a bevel on it. But that said, using a set of axe stones on it, it only took a few minutes to get it to a really good, very nice, very sharp edge. And it's held that edge pretty well, I have to say. So in use, well, it is a crafting axe. It's certainly not a felling axe. It's nowhere near big enough. For crafting, well, I was able to rough out a spoon out of a piece of spalted birch relatively quickly. Through the whole process, it didn't need resharpening. I've just very lightly gone over it with a little bit of polishing compound just to bring it up for the video, and yeah, it's way back to shaving sharp already. Because of the size of it and the way the handle's set up, you can choke up on it quite nicely, and it's, yeah, nice, versatile. It's a very, very good size for crafting. It's also well set up for things like splitting kindling, and an axe of this size is ideal for that. It's ideal for days out in the woods. It's ideal for running a twig stove. If you've got a log burner and you make your own kindling out of your logs, this is absolutely ideal. Really, really ideal, in fact. And that's exactly what I've been using it for. The size gives me good control, reasonable weight head. Obviously I can also use it with a batten on the back, and yeah, all in all, it's a little cracker. But that isn't the best bit. Actually, before I go on to the best bit, I'll tell you the negatives. And the first one, some of you may have already spotted the grain on the handle, because traditionally with axes the grain should run that way through, not that way through, which it does. Which, if you're using a full-size felling axe for felling trees, then probably that matters, because you put an awful lot of pressure on the handle and you want the strongest possible handle going. Well, an axe this size, I don't think it really matters, because you're not actually putting a huge amount of pressure on the handle. If you are splitting big stuff, well, the chances are you're going to be hitting the back, and all the pressure is going through the head, so it's not running through the handle. The amount of pressure that you're going to do swinging this with one arm, I don't think will be enough to split the handle. In fact, I've given this a pretty fair battering, and so far no problems at all. The other slight negatives, and they are slight, they're quite picky. The axe mask, very well made, very well put together. It's a sensible design, clips over like so, and it's well made, well designed. When I first got it, it fitted really well. It has loosened up a little bit, which, if you use slightly thicker leather, possibly that would prevent that from happening. However, I did have a very similar problem with my Gransfors Brook when I first got it. So I got my brother to make me up, well, something that was very similar to this design instead. I didn't want the long strap running around the back, and it was going quite sloppy. So, yeah, the leather work, not the quality of the leather work, but maybe the thickness of the leather could be slightly improved. Otherwise, those are the only quibbles I've got with it. It was absolutely brilliant. To get this out of the box, I find it such a good quality item as well. Really quite a surprise, especially when I compare it to the Swedish competition. And talking of the Swedish competition, this is incredibly similar to both the wildlife hatchet and the hand axe. The only thing that is different is the handle. They've gone for something that is midway between the two. Personally, I'd like to see a slightly longer handle, something down to about there. On my little Norland hatchet, I think I've got about a 14-15 inch handle. That's what I'd like to see on this, ideally. But for what this is intended for, this is absolutely perfect, and that is just my preference. Now, the other big difference between this and its Swedish counterparts, whether it's Wetterlings, whether it's Holzbrook, whether it's Gransfors Brook, is the price. Because while a wildlife hatchet or its equivalent is over 130 pounds, this, when I looked on their website, comes in at $75. I found it in the UK for as little as 68 quid. Now that is half the price of the Gransfors Brook model, and I think this is a bloody bargain. And I think if you're in the market for a small hand axe that you can use out in the woods on a day like today, go and get yourself one of these. This is a great little bit of kit, really is. I'm very impressed with it. And yeah, thank you very much, Beavercraft. I think you've got a cracker there and a real winner. Perhaps what I would like to see is maybe you do a couple of other versions of axes that are maybe perhaps slightly longer, slightly heavier, but still your attention to detail and your quality in your price range, and I think you would be onto a winner. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, then remember, hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. A big thank you to all those guys who have looked at my recent videos. My viewing figures, yeah, were really quite high for those, so they're clearly ones that you enjoyed, particularly the MOD knife v Chinese clone. And it just so happens I have another very similar video to that coming up, another genuine item via clone, which I think you'll find very interesting. So keep your eye on the channel for that. Also keep your eye on the Greencraft shop over on Etsy. If you look down in the description box down below, you will see there is a link to the shop over there, as well as my badges, and I've just restocked on those. So if you are still looking for one of the badges, I've just put a new load in the shop. There is also a load of my puck stoves, which you've seen working here, and I've also got a load of water filtration bags. It's a newer Mark III version, which is about to go live. I've literally got them all in. I just need to put the loops on and the labels on, and then they will be good to go. I've also got some jungle toggles all made up and good to go, and there are going to be sets of those coming up on the shop very, very soon. For those of you who've asked about the EDC light pouches, the minimal scarves, etc., they are inbound as well. So all the scarves are cut, they're just being finished off. I'm also in the process of cutting a load more of the EDC light pouches. So keep your eye on the shop, keep your eye on the channel. I think that's everything. Thank you ever so much for tuning in again. We really, really do appreciate it. I think that's everything. I've been Neil, and I'm going to get back to finishing that spoon off. See you again soon.